Thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my partner in crime, my esteemed colleague. The best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Aric DiLalla.
Phil, it's a dub day here in Denver.
Yeah, we're celebrating, huh?
Got the first one.
I wasn't sure if you were going to make it in today. Just after so much.
After the raging.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah. No, I made it. I'm ready to get back to work onto the New York Jets.
Oh, you've already turned the page. Because normally they say 24-hour rule. We're still within that.
That's true. But
you
I think the tone around here is that there's a lot to get right.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a nice combination of both things. I think you guys celebrate a win because, for this team, I look back to training camp. It was a hard training camp, put in a lot of work. Close on those first two games, like right there, could have had an opportunity to win it. Then when you finally do get it done, I think you got to sort of celebrate that and say, like, hey, that was good. That was the first win of the Sean Payton era. I think you got to be happy about it, and particularly the way they did it, rallying, not giving up on each other, fighting, 24 unanswered points, Aric. I think that you could take a moment and say, yeah, that was big, but obviously still a lot to clean up here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, whenever you get a win, it's better than the alternative to come back all that way and then not win would have been pretty difficult, I think.
Yeah, almost like how after the Hail Mary when they didn't get the 2 point.
Right, it would have felt a lot like that.
Yeah.
I think what I took from that game is that when this team plays well and plays complementary football and is kind of firing on all cylinders, they can do some pretty good things, right? We saw that against Washington in terms of that quick start, 3 touchdowns and 3 drives. Thought we saw that in the fourth quarter yesterday from the defense, kind of the end of the third quarter through the fourth quarter for the offense. I mean, when this team is clicking, it looks much better than it has in recent years. The challenge, right, is to click for a more sustained period of time. And, Sean Payton said Monday, hey, we can't be content with how we played. But, Phil, there's definitely something about this team where you're not out of games even if you fall behind because of how the offense is capable of playing. And I don't know that that's been the case the last few years. There's been times where you fall behind 10 points, you can tell the game's over. And
yeah, 10 points is definitely not enough.
And at this point, the Broncos offense is playing well enough to get you back in the games. Defense made some timely plays. That's all we've been talking about, right, is you don't have to be perfect. Can you make some timely plays? They did that in the fourth quarter and end up with a win. And Phil, I know there's a lot of people out there, they were saying, fans, hey, let's lose this game, let's tank, et cetera, et cetera.
You're ready for Caleb Williams,
It's far too difficult to project out that far in terms of how a season is going to go. And
it's a long season, man.
It's just, I don't like that approach. And everyone's entitled to feel how they want as a fan. But I think you've got to win games. I think you've got to establish a culture. I think you've got to find some success and give validity to the Sean Payton method. And I thought they did that yesterday.
And no team ever goes out there and they're like, we're going to lose this game. You know what I mean? Like players never think like that. There's too much work that goes into this to go out there and play like that. So yeah, but I do think that the offense in particular, when they can get on tempo there and really just get some momentum going, they're pretty good, man. I think that they have enough weapons there that they can keep defenses off balance. Jaleel McLaughlin seems to be the real deal here. Rarely do you see it go from undrafted, nice story, great success in the preseason, and then enter the regular season, and it continues on through that. So he seems to be the kind of guy where, okay, let's see what he can do. Oh, okay, let's see if we add this to his plate. Okay. And then, he got a game ball after this Bears game. So, he continues to be a real deal type of guy. And then Marvin Mims made the big play to set up the field goal. Cortland Sutton made the touchdown. Brandon Johnson touchdown. Jerry Jeudy had a couple of nice plays. I think that they got enough weapons on offense to be a significant factor no matter who they're playing.
Yeah, and I tweeted out, I think Russ's passer rating of 133.5 was his highest since coming to Denver, his highest since week 1 of the 2021 season. And some people said, okay, well, it's the Chicago Bears. And my response to that would be, Yeah, and he did exactly what he should have done.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they were missing a few guys in their secondary, right? They had some young guys out there.
But that's what you want to do, is you want to take advantage when you have that opportunity, and he did it. I mean, would you prefer that he goes out and has a 70 passer rating? That doesn't really make sense. So
yeah,
he stepped up to the plate. I think we have seen the last few weeks the Russell Wilson that everybody expected when they traded for him, when they signed him to a long-term deal. You heard the guys in the locker room yesterday. Russ came to the sideline when they cut the lead to 14 and basically said, we're going to win this football game. And guys like Mike McGlinchey, Cortland Sutton, they bought in.
Yep.
They came all the way back, get a big defensive play. And, Phil, something that stood out to me, when the Bears went up 28-7, I kind of, from the press box up there with my hot cocoa.
Nice and relaxed.
I trained my binoculars down on the sideline. I'm just looking for
reaction.
Somebody throw a helmet.
Ooh.
Somebody freak out. Is there confrontation?
Yelling.
And for the most part, I mean, like, some of the coaches obviously are getting on their guys and trying to get things right, but there was no helmet throwing. There was no freaking out. There were no issues that, I think at some times last year we saw that, right, on the sideline of things boiled over.
Certainly.
And I didn't see that. And I thought that was a good sign that guys still believed, and obviously they came back and made it happen. That, to me, suggests that this team is buying in and still kind of you got to go do it here, right? But you get a chance to get a win and get back to within a game of 500. I mean, we talked all week. You just need one to kind of get things going, and they found a way to get one.
And sometimes it takes one that's like this, where you need to come back, where everybody comes together and like does it like as a team, and like you just feel good about that. I will say the TV cameras at one point caught like K-Jack and PS2 having it. Like it wasn't like they were it wasn't like there was like contention there, but it was like, man, we got to get this thing right, you know. And I think a healthy amount of that is good.
Yeah, that's different than a shove on the sideline.
Exactly.
Throwing your helmet.
Exactly. Just a disgruntled, because I think if you have that, it's hard to come back. But if you got guys who are like, they're not happy about the way they're playing, but they still feel like there's a way to figure it out, that's what you want. And I think that's where this team was, certainly at that point, 28-7. It did feel like, okay, it's now or never, and then they really came together. I thought that on offense, they really made a couple of third down plays that really extended some drives that I was like, man, that was a big, like the one to L.J. Humphrey, formerly known as Lil Jordan. He made a nice play there on a big third down where you were like, all right, like maybe they're finding a rhythm here. And, with regards to facing the Chicago Bears, one of the things I thought that was interesting, Sean Payton was like, knowing that they had some young guys in their secondary there, they were going to be playing a lot of cover two. Which I think that for the Broncos going into this one, they wanted to run the football, I think. And because of the way the game unfolded, they were put into a situation where they had to pass it a lot. Sean afterward was like, there was some concern there that because they were just in cover two, throwing it a lot was going to be an issue. But Russ made the plays, man, and those guys got open, and you really felt like, okay, things are different now. Like the momentum was going and they were rolling, and it did feel like, hey, I think they're going to do this. Like, even just watching, you're like, they had all of the energy.
Yeah, you could feel it shift, certainly.
Yeah.
And, again, the way the defense was playing in the second quarter and part of the third quarter, you kind of felt like, hey, they were going to need to get a takeaway in order to make it happen. But they came up big when they needed to. They got the strip sack return for a touchdown. Obviously, the first fumble return for a touchdown in, 4 seasons. They come up with a big fourth down stop where, if the Bears get that yard, Phil, on 4th and 1, we're probably talking about a different, 31-28 the other way, because they would have been able to run the clock down.
Oh, man.
Could have kicked a chip shot field goal, and basically all that work would have been for nothing. So the defense made plays when they needed to, and you got to hope that instead of that just being kind of a few series, you've got to hope because they stacked them and it came at the end of the game, maybe there's a reason to believe that, hey, they turned a corner, they figured something out. Because they made, Justin Fields looked incredible in the first half.
Oh, man.
And then they made him look kind of like he's played the rest of the season in that fourth quarter.
What'd you think about the decision to go for a fourth there?
I was confused.
It was gutsy, man. That was
like he got up there, obviously, and tried to hard count the first time. But then once you call a timeout, I kind of just assumed the field goal was coming.
Yeah.
I got in an elevator to go down to the field at that point because I was like, oh, they'll kick the field goal. I'll just come watch the final drive.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the elevator and you hear the radio and it's, it's stuffed on 4th and 1. And I was kind of like, what?
Yeah, interesting because I feel like from a Chicago perspective, you're like, okay, you just gave up the scoop and score. So maybe you're like, okay, let's just go down here and like finish this game. And so like I get that, but I thought for sure Fields was going to try and do something on the edge. You know, they had success there. The Broncos defense continued to have some issues setting the edge. You know, I remember Justin Fields got loose on a 3rd down play and ran for a first down. You know, I thought for sure, let's put the ball in your playmakers' hands and like let's see what happens on the edge. I thought for sure that was coming, and then they went right up the middle. And it's always easy now on this side to be like, why did you do that? But at the time, I was like, man, this is a gutsy call. You don't see a lot of coaches with the opportunity to take the lead to do that. But at the same time, the Broncos had so much momentum at that point. You felt like, okay, if they got the ball back, they were going to go down. So I kind of understood both sides of it, but. Man, that was a big play for this Broncos defense. Singleton and Zach Allen getting in there, that was a big-time play.
And you might not feel like 3 is enough there. You'd be giving the Broncos the ball back with 2.5 minutes left at 2:52.
The way they were playing.
They were moving the ball, you probably don't feel good enough about that. So you're saying, hey, let's take a chance and get 1 yard. And the way you've been moving the ball for most of the game, you probably feel pretty good about your ability to get 1 yard.
Yeah.
And the Broncos they made a play.
Yeah. Players make plays.
Players make plays. And, I know that one of the reactions out there among fans is, hey, well, I never should have taken a 21-point comeback against the Chicago Bears. But that's what happened. We've seen the Broncos lose a couple of close games in different ways where they raced out to that lead against Washington, unable to hold on. You had a nice game against the Raiders and ultimately lose late. You take a win no matter how you can get it. And I think good teams in this league, we'll have to see where things are in a few weeks, but what good teams in this league do is they win when they don't have their best football or when they're not in an ideal situation, and that's how it is when you watch like Kansas City or the Bills or
they just get a win.
Sometimes they're in these scenarios and you're like, oh, maybe they'll pick up a loss, and they just find a way to win when they're not playing their best. Yeah, and the Broncos were able to do that yesterday. Phil, I don't want to put it in this category necessarily, but it was the second largest road comeback behind that Chargers comeback in
the Peyton Manning.
And obviously that sparked that football team. I don't know if it's fair to expect that same spark here, but whenever you have that sort of moment, the guys running off the field were all jacked up.
Yeah.
You just wonder if there's
unifying about it.
And if you figure something out about yourself and what works, you wonder if you can push that forward and use that.
It takes something to get on a roll. Something's got to happen to be able to get that ball rolling. And so maybe this was for this Broncos team. It did feel like maybe they turned a page a little bit there where some things that they figured out. They do still have some issues, that we can get into, Eric. Sean Payton has brought up a lot, the false starts.
Yep.
5 false starts was it,
I think
Eric,
so.
there?
I think everybody except Quinn Miners had one, I think. Or was it everybody except Ben Powers?
I thought that Quinn had one at one point.
There are a lot of them.
And particularly, Sean brought this up a lot too, is the 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6. That's a big difference there on plays like that. So trying to figure out a little bit of that. Sean Payton mentioned the cadence, just making sure everybody's on the same page about what that cadence is supposed to be like. Because I think that for the coaching staff, he even said this after the game, those are the kind of things that drive you crazy. Because the little details for this team in particular really matter a lot, and their focus has been so much on like tightening things up and playing clean football. They protected the football on offense, which was really good. But some of those penalties, that if you look back on it and you lost it because of that, that would be really upsetting.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, they got to be better there, and especially Mike McGlinchey, I think, has been a good addition, but he had a couple. I think he's had one in every game. Something he's got to figure out. There weren't kind of the same penalty issues. I mean, what were the total?
Overall? I think the Bears had more yardage for sure on penalties there, but those ones, I think the little ones where you're just like completely in control of it, like the false start.
7 for 39 yards, so not terrible overall, but it just it feels unnecessary.
It's unnecessary, like a holding play on a cornerback or something. You're like, okay, I get it, but like this, you're just in control of this. Don't do it.
Right, and there were still some mechanical issues. It seemed the Broncos had to use their timeouts in the first half.
Yeah,
kind of cost them a chance there at the end of the first half to get the ball back and try to go down the field. But I do think there's something to be said that, listen, the penalties have to get better. You got to continue to get better running the football. Defensively, some communication things, particularly in the back end where you're playing a lot of young guys that just have to get fixed. As Sean Payton said, we're going to play a lot better teams than Chicago. Got to get it fixed.
Yeah. And fit in the run, he mentioned, particularly in the first half. They still had some issues there. Tackling was a little bit better, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was better.
But, just a little bit of communication things. Cole Kmet looked like Travis Kelce out there at times.
Yeah, 7 catches for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns, and a couple of them he was just wide open.
Wide open.
DJ Moore, 8 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown.
DJ Moore is a good player.
He's a good player.
Although I don't think he got that right foot down.
No, that was kind of an iffy call, I thought.
I think what happens a lot of times, Eric, is sometimes there'll be like a play like that where they're like, let's give him the touchdown because that's an automatic review. But then once you're reviewing it, you're like, well, what was the call on the field? Do you know what I mean? So like it works against them in that way too. So even though it gets the automatic review, sometimes you go back and you're like, well, now I got to go with what the call on the field was.
Right.
So that's kind of a tough spot there. But I don't think he got it down.
No, and we'll learn a lot more about this team this week.
Oh,
right?
yeah, of course.
Just in terms
good
of
defense.
Just in terms of how you react to that win, how do you play against the Jets? Zach Wilson had some success on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And Monday night hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't. No, today is Monday.
If he plays again tonight, it would be kind of crazy.
That would be really insane.
But he did have some success on Sunday night. So can you find a way to prevent him from continuing that momentum forward?
Yeah, of course. I think that the Aaron Rodgers injury sort of has taken the wind out of the sails.
Nice.
I think sails, yeah. From like the Champagne comments at the beginning of the year and the whole Nathaniel Hackett stuff. I believe that post-game Champagne said that was a fiasco. Let's get into that. He kind of was joking about it, but I think that because Aaron Rodgers isn't there, some of the steam that was heading into this one is not there, obviously. But that's a good Jets defense, man. They gave Patrick Mahomes a lot of issues.
Yeah, the Broncos will
be a tough test.
But, the way this offense is playing, Phil, I think, they've cracked 30 now twice this year, which is more than they did all of last season, I believe. This is a good offense, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at quarterback efficiency ratings and that sort of thing, Russell Wilson is right up there, top of the league. Touchdown passes, he has 9, I believe.
Yep.
Last year, it took until week 14 for him to throw 9 touchdown passes, which just sounds crazy to think about.
He is playing really well.
He is playing well, and I think when you have him playing at this level, you're not out of a football game.
Yeah.
And the way Sean Payton is calling things, I think there's been some really nice play designs.
He said that he does like 12 to 15 to open the game, and you've seen the Broncos.
And they've worked.
Yeah, they've scored an opening drive touchdown in 3 of the 4 games.
Right.
I think that's big, Eric. You just get in that confidence, getting the ball rolling, jumping out like that. I think that's a good one for the Broncos. He said they try to do a lot of different personnel groupings just to get a feel for what the defense is trying to do. And, yeah, you've seen them have success there.
Yeah. And, moving forward, you hope that, hey, can Justin Simmons play this week?
Yeah.
Guys like Baron Browning, P.J. Locke are eligible to return. We'll have to see later this week what happens there. But there are kind of reinforcements on the way, if you will. Greg Dulcich can play against Kansas City. He's eligible to return. So if you talk about the first 4 weeks of the season being this race to improve, I think these next few weeks for the Broncos are kind of about, hey, we've learned about ourselves this first month. Now let's put it together here over the rest of October. We know Sean's got a good winning percentage in October. Went up a little bit here after that win over
He must have looked at the calendar that morning and was like, we should win this one.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I
will say, Eric, when I was driving home yesterday, the thought creeped into my head where I was like, if they would have just beaten the Raiders and Washington,
or it doesn't even have to be or,
but they lose those games by 3 points total.
Yeah.
If they could have just won those two, it's just weird how like a win changes your whole perspective. Like
maybe 3-1.
It's hard to not like get that way thinking. You know what I mean? Because they could have easily lost this one too, and then they'd be 0-4. So like it's just such a weird league in that way that a win just kind of really shifts so much.
Right. Well, and certainly if you get a home win this week, I would imagine the Broncos are. I haven't seen yet, but I'd imagine they're favored by at least a little bit.
I would imagine.
Then you're 2-3, and you're thinking, man, if we could have just gotten one of those, we'd be in really great shape right now. The Broncos are still up against it a little bit in terms of they're going to have to really fight back to get to 500 and in the race. But, certainly the mood around here this morning and kind of what's possible and what expectations are very different than they were at 8 minutes through the third quarter yesterday, right?
It's just crazy.
You're down 28-7, and we're thinking, oh, okay. I'm thinking in my head, what am I going to write about this week? And instead, you get to write about a win. You get to write about the chance to get another win.
Mixed it up. They mixed it up on us.
They did. Yeah. They tricked us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought for sure. I was like thinking of the post-game show, halftime. I was like, oh, how am I going to do this?
It changes quickly, and I just think that if the offense plays the way they can, you're going to be in a lot of football games.
Yeah.
You hope the defense can make enough big plays. Getting some guys back could help. And listen, you can't obviously change the result of the Raiders or the Commanders game, but I think what you can do is look at that and say, man, we're a couple plays away here from being a 3-1 football team, and everyone wants to count us out and say we're a bad football team externally, but
there's some confidence now.
There's something here that we could just as easily be sitting here tied for the lead in the division through 4 weeks.
Yeah. I think that's there's just so many ways you can look at a season, you know what I mean? Like, so with the Broncos, you could be like, they could have been 3-1. Yeah. Every team has like 1 or 2 bad weeks. I mean, look at the Dolphins yesterday. They go up to Buffalo and they just, they didn't look nearly the same, you know? So you could look at it that way, or you could look at it and be like, yeah, but they had to hit that Hail Mary. It took a big comeback against the Bears. You could just like frame it so many different ways. And I guess that's sort of the beauty of the NFL is like all these teams are a lot closer than it certainly appears.
Yeah, and you're going to be in a lot of one-score games.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are going to be like they were yesterday, where you need one play.
Yep.
And you've got to get a stop, or you've got to go down and score a touchdown. I think the fact that they were able to do that
that's big.
Is big for them moving forward, of saying, hey, we've been in this position before. We know we can go do it again.
Yeah.
And obviously this one's a big one against Zach Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, and everything that went on this offseason. But it's also just the next one in terms of it will not be easy, but it's certainly a game the Broncos can win.
Yeah, and I think that you're looking at it and you're like, this is a chance, if you can win this one, to jump back in it.
Yeah.
You're like back actually playing meaningful games,
right.
So it's at home, it's going to be kind of a different feel because it feels like the last couple of weeks they've played some really good offenses, and you're like, okay, they're going to have to put up some points here. But this one, it's like, okay, this is going to be like strength against strength here with the Jets defense and the Broncos offense. And then, hey, if this defense can make it for the Broncos, make enough plays against Zach Wilson, maybe you get some more turnovers. Maybe Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito continue this success. Anything is possible for this Broncos team.
Yeah, I want to touch on those guys real fast, because I think Nick Benito is coming into his own. 2.5 sacks. I know there was a lot of questions last year. Hey, is this guy going to pan out? And just because he was the top pick, people expected things quickly and for him to make an impact. And he probably didn't have the impact he wanted a year ago. For him to respond,
put in the work
the way he has. Yeah, put in the work.
He's bigger.
And you can see now what the Broncos saw on tape when they drafted him. And he started over Randy Gregory. I think it was deserved the way that Nick has been playing. And one thing about Sean is he's not afraid to make a lineup move. And Monday he kind of said, "Hey, we're always mixing with these things. We're trying to see what works best." But he's going to play the guys that deserve to play.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Broncos will still need Randy Gregory at some point this year, undoubtedly. This week they're going to need him. Frank Clark, you hope to get him back. And those guys are still going to play a role, but I like what Nick Bonito's doing, and I think that I just felt like that was important to say because we talked a lot last year when he was not playing as well. You got to come back and then recognize, hey, he's
give
taking
him his flowers.
Exactly. He's taking a big step here.
The size has made a big difference to me because he seems like he's strong enough now to shed some of these offensive linemen, where last year that just wasn't the case, So now he's able to, he's getting up into Justin Fields a little bit faster, and then that creates the big play, So, yeah. And, it probably helps having his position coach from college be a part of this Broncos coaching staff. And, all of those things together, it takes maybe just a little bit of time. And then when it clicks, you can see the results.
Yeah. No, it and
Jonathan Cooper's been
Jonathan Cooper's been
high
solid.
motor guy who's, he's another guy who's got that positive mindset always.
Right. Yeah. No,
Leadership.
Those guys played well. I do think the back end needs to shore things up, but when you
the linebackers,
you've got a lot of young guys, right? Like Jaquan McMillian was playing DTR, as they're calling him.
Oh yeah,
Delarian Turner-Yell.
That's a little easier to say DTR.
Yeah. Damari Mathis is still a young guy. You've got a lot of guys back there that are still kind of coming into their own.
Yeah,
getting a guy like Justin Simmons back.
That'll help the communication for sure, yeah. And, Komet did have a lot of success. They're going to have to kind of work on those things because in this league, people will continue to attack the areas, where.
Yeah, well, and they're going
to face some good tight ends.
If communication is an issue and you've got guys running open, I mean, not to jump ahead, but Andy Reid is going to test you in 2 weeks. So you're going to have to figure it out. But again, nice to talk all these things after a win.
Yeah.
And just get that, Alex Singleton said it. Hey, some of these rookies have never experienced this in the NFL before.
A win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy what that's like. Let it feel you moving forward. It's the Broncos' first road win on U.S. soil since Dallas in 2021.
For the homeland. This soil.
The soil's nice.
Yeah.
It just, again, we don't want to talk about kind of things in the future because there's just a lot that needs to happen, but it at least gives you a little bit of hope.
It's a building block.
Yeah. One step in the right direction.
Yes. And I think that Sean has set the tone well for this, just saying, hey, let's not be content, but I was encouraged, and he said the defense and offense need to be better and need to show some urgency, but at the same time, let's take a moment here and recognize what we accomplished. That's the right tone.
Yeah, you have to win some of these games if you're going to put yourself in position to do what you want to do.
Yeah. They're going to,
I don't mean to pick on one particular team, but the Steelers went down to Houston and were probably like, hey, we're going to win this football game. And they suffered a pretty significant loss afterwards. Mike Tomlin's talking about, hey, we're definitely making changes around here.
Oh, Pickett got hurt, right?
Yeah.
I think he left that game.
I think back to a couple years ago again, against Houston, the Chargers kind of had a clear playoff path. They go to Houston against a team that had not
knocked off,
played very well. They lost the football game.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to win some of these games where it doesn't look pretty or, hey, maybe you think you're going to go in there and roll and it doesn't happen. As Alex Singleton said, and it's a well-coined phrase, those guys get paid too.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's
true.
So
even if you don't win, you get paid.
You get paid.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's true. You don't.
Oh, I don't get paid. I don't get paid no matter what.
This is the first paycheck of the year for you.
Oh, yeah. How many games did that Broncos team win in 2012 after that? I don't think they lost the rest of the season.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, so that could be nice.
They won 11 in a row, right?
Yeah.
And, that Chargers team wasn't great.
Yeah.
They ended up 7-9. They were 5-9 at one point. And so obviously I'm not.
Philly Rivers.
I'm not sure if the Bears are going to get to 7 wins. The Bears.
Yeah.
But it's not like the Broncos were coming back from 21 down or 24 down, against the Patriots at that
No.
point, right? Like
exactly.
that was a team that they probably should have beaten.
Yeah.
And took a miraculous effort, and they rolled.
Got them rolling.
And the Broncos have the. I think when you have an offense that can, that's just the difference between this year and years past. Is I think when you have a great defense and a poor performing offense, you have to be almost perfect.
Yeah.
Especially against teams like the Chiefs or the Bills or whomever to have a chance to win. Whereas when you have an offense that's good, even if your defense struggles at times, you've got a chance because you can go point for point and kind of match up with those guys. And so
that's kind of like where this Jets team is at. Like it kind of felt like last night that they had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And then Mahomes does what he does.
Well, and they even go on a nice run and tie the game, have a chance to take the lead, and Zach Wilson fumbles the snap, and it's just over.
Yeah, exactly.
And I felt like that at times. I think back to that Cincinnati game, right? Like the Broncos are in a good spot to get in the playoffs, and
everything has to go right.
And it didn't, and you lose a football game. And now, if you're down 10-14, I don't think you want to make a habit of doing that.
No.
But
no, not a good idea.
I think there's faith that you can come back from that.
Totally.
And you can make plays, and that, hey, like how many times the last few years have the Broncos gotten the ball back with 2 minutes left, 3 minutes left with a chance to win it and not done
Can't do it. Yeah.
With the way they're playing right now, I didn't have any doubt that they were going to go down and score points after that fourth down stop.
Oh, yeah, I know. Exactly. Yeah, you just felt really confident. But it took a lot of third down execution after that. But
you still got to do it.
But they did it.
But, I mean, that's like when I watch Patrick Mahomes play, especially against the Broncos, you're like, say you get a tackle for a loss. You're like, oh, second and 11. And you're like, oh, gosh, you still got to get two more stops, like 2 more plays. Like maybe we just go right to fourth down.
3rd and 25 is like, who cares?
Exactly. And when you've got a quarterback and Russ is playing at the level that you need him to play at, you've got a chance. And so, can the defense get a little bit better? And can the Broncos kind of use this to get going?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it there. I'm sure we'll have a lot more on the Jets coming up here.
Yes.
This is going to be an exciting week to just talk. We'll hear from both sides, I think, this week. A lot going on.
It's a big one for both teams, too.
Yeah.
Kind of keep because the Jets are what? They're 1-3 now.
They're 1-3 as well.
Kind of a chance to keep your season at least to stay in the race.
Yeah. And you just want to, if you're the Broncos, you got this little spark here.
Yeah, keep it going.
Can you build the fire?
Keep it going.
Will it keep you warm throughout the night? I think that we're going to find out. We're
fixing to find out.
We're fixing to find out. And maybe Ben Swanson maybe
back on Thursday.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What do you think happened this time?
I think the last time I saw him, he was on top of the bean.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you get up there?
I don't know.
It's all smooth everywhere.
It's suction cups or something.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, and the camera around his neck.
There was too much to get down.
Yeah.
He got up there and he was like, how am I supposed to get down? And he got a little scared.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I heard he ate a lot of pizza. Like he wasn't feeling well either.
So,
yeah.
You do a fillet of fish or just the pizza?
Who would do a fillet of fish?
I don't know.
That is a risky move. I think.
I would only eat a fillet of
fish
risky. During a certain season. I don't know what.
I don't think I'd ever do the fillet of fish.
Yeah.
Just my personal.
Like a ram season.
It's kind of like, ram, like a ram
what
season.
What is it, Aries?
A ram.
Taurus?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
That's ram season.
Ram season, yeah.
That's when I need a fillet of fish.
That's when you would do it.
Yeah.
For me, ordering a fillet of fish is like ordering fish on an airplane. And I just don't do that.
I'll have to tell you that your catchphrase, fish don't fly, of course.
Fish don't fly, of course.
Has made the rounds on the official team plane of the Denver Broncos.
Really? People, when the menu comes around,
I
like,
let them know last week that was something Phil Milani taught me. My first road trip.
Yeah,
and they loved it.
Yeah.
There were guests of the team just saying fish don't fly in the back of the plane. It was tremendous.
Yeah. Same deal. I'll have to come up with something for fillet of fish, but
yeah.
Yeah. But Swanson, a lot of pizza. Too much pizza.
A lot of pizza, yeah.
Too much pizza. Gonna get down.
We'll go help him.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. So we'll be back on Thursday. Until then, for Aric DiLalla, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.
Listen up, Denver Broncos fans. Paramount Plus is your streaming home to catch every local NFL on CBS game this season. Visit ParamountPlus.com to start your free trial and stream Russell Wilson and the boys as they battle the league's best. Plus, get an all-access pass to 24/7 NFL content with CBS Sports HQ, Fantasy Football Today, NFL Slime Time, and more. And this year, Paramount Plus is your streaming destination for Super Bowl 58. Another action-packed Broncos season with the NFL on CBS awaits. So stream Paramount Plus from any device all season long.